Oh, don't put that in the podcast.
What a way to start. Wow.
just open it.
Ukulele Tales with John Atkins.
Well, Mim, thank you so much for coming to the first ever live episode of Ukulele Tales.
Oh,
It's really cool to be here at the
audience.
Allegheny Soiree. Let's hear it, please. Mim, thank you so much for coming.
I'm excited to
Can
be
I just
here.
ask, is that your real name? Is it short for something? Is it a secret?
Yeah, a little bit of it. What it is I joined Ukulele Underground back in the day, so that's going to date me. And I actually have an account that was under my real name. And then I was like, oh, let me be fun. Nobody knows who I am. And so I put Mim from NaMM and from Sword in the Stone. And then I made a little avatar of her carrying a ukulele, like with purpose. So proud of my Photoshop skills. And I didn't know how to make a signature, so I never did. So everybody called me that. And then I was like, oh, it looks really good on a t-shirt. But then, since then, I try to keep like my actual personal name separate, because I've had some really weird,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I guess this may not be delightful for a podcast, but I've had some weird things where people have pried into my personal life. So for the safety of myself and my kids, I keep those two worlds separate.
Yeah, that's fair
But
enough.
I'm actually now called Mim about 95% of the time.
I was going to say, I don't want to dox you, but are you willing to tell the listeners what your license plate is?
I don't mind that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I did. I love you because
I
you
love
saw
Uke.
that.
Yeah,
and,
UKE.
and I know, isn't that cute? Oh, because I was going to put my work name on there, and then I realized also I didn't like. I was like, I don't want people to be like, Mim cut me off.
Oh, yeah. Are you prepared to describe your unique look? Because you've got a very cool look, right? Like, really interesting.
Yeah, and there's actually a little bit of a story behind that too, and I think it says a lot about the music industry as a whole. And I don't mind addressing this at all, but it used to be you go to the NaMM show, not Vietnam, but NaMM as a National Association of Music Merchants, and it'd be like 90% male, 10% female, and most of the females are there with a male counterpart. And some were known as what's called booth babes. And they'd have women wearing tight clothing, skimpy outfits to stand at the end of a booth. I had like brown hair down to my chin and just sort of normal, average looking like mom of 7 that I am. And I would go up to booths and I would not be taken seriously. I even came up to a booth once. I don't bring my husband anymore to the trade show because I literally have salesmen pass by me, not even look me in the eye while I'm holding a ukulele, to then address my husband, who was even like 5 feet outside of their booth space. And I said, honey, I love you. I'd love to spend time with you, but I can't have you go for that reason. And so I decided one year, kind of actually out of pure laziness, to just buzz my hair. I felt like I wasn't going anywhere, and then I dyed it blue, and there was absolutely a difference at NaMM where I was no longer forgotten.
Yeah.
It used to be when I went and I looked more like, put quotes around it, normal or average, I'd go in and see a booth on a Thursday, and if I went to follow up on a Sunday to make an order, they wouldn't remember me, sometimes not even give me the time of day. But then the blue hair just made it where they remembered me from one day to the other. And now I feel like I could let go of it if I wanted to, but why? It's too fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
I love the hair. It changes color, right?
When I want to,
But at the moment,
yeah.
it's sort of Cookie Monster blue, is that? how you-
Yeah, Cookie Monster blue, and then sometimes I'll do darker, lighter purple. I did orange once, forgetting my son's graduation was coming up.
Yeah.
And it turned out like traffic cone orange. I don't know what you'd call that in England.
Traffic cone.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
or-
there
yeah.
you go. And so so I felt so bad. I apologize. I'm like, I'm so sorry. But you'll be able to find me in the audience. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Can we take it back a step? You mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm not sure
Yeah.
if it was like an exaggeration, you said mum of 7?
Oh, yes, I have 7 kids.
Oh, you
yeah.
do? Wow, okay. Age
4
ranging
adopted.
from, okay.
And so I actually had 7 kids by 28.
Okay.
But I did not birth them all. So I've got a little bit of everything. It's really fun because they all have different personalities, but they're all really, really close. So we have a chaotic household.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it's fun.
Yeah. I bet. I mean, I have one kid, as I've talked about many times. So I have respect for anyone who has more than one kid.
Yeah.
Because, like, this kid has taken up my whole life, right? I still haven't got my body back yet, you know, from when he
I
was
know.
born. So,
Well, and when you have one or two, you're not outnumbered. When you get to three, you're outnumbered. So then you might as well have seven. So anybody
Okay.
out there, if you have three kids, you might as well have seven.
Yeah.
But anything over two is chaos. So then once you have seven, it's like you just get used to it.
can I ask, is the oldest one old enough to help with the younger ones, or?
No, actually, it was all in the age of. So I had three birth kids, and then the other one, long story, 3 months after my last one was born. So they were raised as twins, and then I adopted three siblings from Ethiopia, but they kind of overlapped my two oldest. So I basically had 7 kids within 9 years.
Okay,
So they're
that's-
all like
wow.
compounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Good for you, though. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
really cool.
It's really fun. My husband's like a really good dad, and he does all the cooking and cleaning. So I'd like to say I take all the credit by being like super mom, but my husband's like pretty darn awesome. So
What inspired you, if you don't mind getting too personal,
Oh, I don't mind.
to adopt kids from overseas?
because there was kids that needed homes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like now it does get a really long story, but you know, it's like one of those things where when I saw pictures of them, I'm like, oh, those are my kids. So sometimes things in life like fall into place. Even me starting my ukulele company, a lot of the good things in my life have all fallen into place in such a beautiful order.
Yeah.
Like it was meant to be. So even that situation, I was at a place I normally wouldn't have been, like visiting, and then I saw these 3 kids, and then the whole adoption process literally fell into place. They were home 6 months later. Sort of a series of fortunate events, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah.
but kind of meant to be. They're great. One of them just got married.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, one's an
Yeah.
electrician, one's now in Brazil. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's obviously, I know you do like a million things, but there's probably 2 things that you're most well known for in the ukulele world.
Uh-huh.
One is your ukulele store,
Yes.
which we'll talk about in a moment maybe. And one is your performance.
Oh, yeah.
Like you host nights or shows or...
I do. All right. So I really am passionate about open mics to a very like deep level. But it all sort of started by accident. And so it actually goes back to like England because I did Grand Northern for 8 years,
Oh, yeah?
somewhere
Wow,
about
okay.
8 years, and I was on the planning team. But when I first came over, it was just kind of as even just sort of a low-level visiting artist. You know, nothing paid. I was just going to be over there. But I said I do like to have a job, and they said, well, how about you host this open mic in the courtyard? And it was my first time hosting an open mic, and I loved like that experience of seeing people like get in front of the microphone for the first time and really like give them the positive feedback. I'm everybody's biggest fan if they do an open mic. And then I was like, you know, I'd like to create something. So like the next year, I asked Mary Agnes, I'm like, can I please do something where it's like a curated open mic where we'll still have walk-up spots, but where people who don't get an opportunity to have a gig, put gig around, you know, like how many people, it's like where they can treat it like a gig. So half the spots were signed up ahead of time so that people had months to work on their song. So it wasn't like, I know with open mics, like my first open mic is like, oh sure, I'll do it. And then I'm flipping through a book and picking out 2 songs and sort of strumming more like in a style where I just wasn't prepared. I just did it for like whatever. But I encourage them to have a regular song and then a joke and then a song where people could participate or strum along. And then that way, when they were all done, they'd have a set. And then people just started taking it really, really seriously.
Yeah.
And so I joked because I was trying to explain to someone, like, it's an open mic, but it's the most serious open mic you've ever been to. Like, yeah, people would just take it so, and so people would prepare for months or they'd even get groups together. And so there's a lot of really neat stories that have come out of that little stage where groups have started, careers have started. People who've always wanted to make music as a group and be booked by ukulele festivals sort of got the bug there, and then with encouragement, like went on to become groups. So Jokulele started on my stage. The Ukulele's, I don't know if you know them, but they're 2 blind women with guide dogs. I know,
yeah,
aren't they
wow.
wonderful? Say it, Amber.
They're amazing.
They're amazing. We love the Ukuleles. Kit, they were already doing things, but then like started more regularly performing. I'm trying to think. Oh, Short Straw, who was my last pick for the Grand Northern Main stage, happened to be, they did my stage every year, and they just got better every year, and I'm so passionate about them too. And a really neat thing happened. See, don't get me started on my sideshow. So it was called the Sideshow. I got booked to do my workshop right before the Sideshow, and I come running out and with my shoes in my hand, getting ready to go on the stage, and they had already set up. And I told them, go ahead and set up since you have more of a setup. And Jake Shimabukuro was going through the through the courtyard, and I said, Jake, you said you missed getting to play Wagon Wheel with everybody. Come up here and play Wagon Wheel, which, note, never put an artist on the spot. Never. Particularly Jake Shimabukuro. Except it was the best person to do it with because he was like, okay, sure. And he goes, but ma'am, I don't have my uke. So someone handed him their uke. And he gets on stage, and Short Straw was on the stage, so they were able to play bass and back him up. Jake not only jammed Wagon Wheel with everybody, but then he taught everybody Drop Baby Drop.
I mean, that's the beauty
cool.
of that is amazing. That is the beauty of these festivals, and particularly things like your open mic.
Yeah.
Just anyone might be passing, and anyone might be kind of dragged into anything.
Oh, yeah.
To play any type of music.
Oh, yeah.
And so you became like a real fixture at Gunnuff.
Yes.
You said 8 years, right?
Yes, I was on the planning team, and that was really cool. I wasn't there the last year, but I am coming back to the Ukulele Festival of Great Britain as the actual MC. I'm scared to death, but I'm excited.
Well done. Yeah, let's hear it.
So it's been a long time coming, and like I don't want to say it was a dream of mine because I never thought anybody would like trust me enough to do it. But Matt is like, do it, and I'm like, okay. And so I'm planning to give it my all, and it should be great. I mean, worst case scenario, they never invite me back, but I hope to do a really good job. It's something I'm going to take very seriously and rehearse for really, really hard because it is out of my comfort zone. Because you guys MC different in England. You guys are extra.
We are?
Yes.
Extra to you? Or...
I don't know.
No offense, by the way, but I mean...
At Grand Northern, I'm just saying, we needed to kill time, and the MC came out and like hula hooped while like pouring a glass of champagne balanced on her forehead.
That's pretty extra. Okay, yeah.
I can't do that.
No.
But I do balance a uke on a uke on a uke on my chin, so I may do that. And I'm going to come up with some other ideas. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm just excited to come back.
I saw your show last night, and it was really fun. You combined... For I think the first time that I've ever seen Dungeons and Dragons and ukulele.
Yes.
With I couldn't quite see from where I was. Was it like a 20-sided dice or something?
Yes.
Really?
So it's a 20-sided dice, and then I had actually, so that I wouldn't only pick nice things for myself, I went on the internet and asked people to give me challenges. Because, look, if it was me, Amber's laughing at me, because if it was me, I'd be like, I'd put things I know I could do well. You know, but instead it was things like play ukulele behind your head. And what's on there? Debbie did the hula. I did want Mike and Lucy does interpretive dance, but we didn't get that one. There's one where I balance a book on my head. One that I have a pencil underneath my nose so that I'd have to sing like this. Haven't had to do that one yet. But everybody else came up with those ideas.
Yeah.
So that's... sort of the,
but you keep it.
Never know what I
so
get.
you keep it like fresh and interesting, right?
Yes, I try to do something different every year. I'll tell you why. So if anybody doesn't like what I do one year, they'll at least know I'll be different next year, so that people will continue to book me. Right, Mike? Yay! Thank you.
Yeah,
but you know, not everybody's cup of tea, and so if I'm the same every year, and somebody goes, "Oh, that was so stupid. She sang Tiny Tim and this awful falsetto." Well, it's not going to happen next year. I'm going to do something different.
Do you just perform at ukulele festivals, or do you do like shows in your local area or whatever?
You know what? I can't get booked for ukulele outside of ukulele festivals. But I do community theater. I have done a gig with a circus troupe, which was wild and so much fun. And sometimes I'll do local events. Like we have a big festival called Floyd Fest in Floyd, and I'll do a children's universe set where I do ukulele karaoke. I play the ukulele, the kids sing. And then I'll set up in the middle of wherever people are passing by, and I'll teach people to play ukulele in 10 minutes. And you sit down. It involves stickers. It involves a little bit of cheating, but the goal is after 10 minutes, people at least feel like they can do it.
It's funny because I remember the first ukulele festival I went to, which was in LA. 2014, maybe?
Oh,
maybe 14 or 15, I think it was. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be so out of my depth here. Everyone's going to be like a ukulele expert.
Yeah.
And then I went to the first workshop, and it was literally a guy teaching you how to play the chord of C, and people were struggling with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, right, okay, maybe I do know a few things about the ukulele, So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, as you can probably tell, this episode of Ukulele Tales was recorded live at the Allegheny Soiree in Altoona, Pennsylvania, just a few weeks ago. And what an absolute blast that was. First off, I just want to say a huge thanks to all of the crew who made the soiree possible, especially Mike, Amber, and Ed, who all went above and beyond over the course of the weekend to make sure that all of the artists, like myself, and all of the attendees, who are, of course, the most important part of any ukulele festival, had a great time. If you haven't been to the soiree before, or even if you haven't heard of the soiree before, check out ukulelesoiree.com for information about next year's event. I know I had a fantastic time, and I'm sure you guys would love it too. Secondly, how are you enjoying the live vibe of the show? Personally, I think it's really cool. And if it's something that you'd like to see more of, and you'd like to have the chance to see a recording of Ukulele Tales live and in person, then contact your favourite ukulele festivals and let them know about the show. Let them know that you want to see me and tell them to get in touch. Also, why don't you be sure to drop me a message too, as I'd love to hear your thoughts on the show, particularly if you enjoy the live setting. You can email me at UkeTeacher@grabyouruke.com, or, of course, find me on any of the regular social media channels too. And a big thank you to Carla for sponsoring me and for sponsoring the show. Now, I've had a relationship with Carla for several years now, and throughout that time, they have provided me with loads of great ukuleles, and I would recommend them without reservation to anybody. And if you go to carlabrand.com/UkeTeacher, you'll get 10% off anything on their website: guitars, ukes, tuners, books, strings, straps, whatever you want, 10% off anything just because you listen to Ukulele Tales. So that can't be bad, can it? Anyway, Mim was a fantastic guest, so open and honest, and just full of life, and I really had so much fun chatting with her, not just during the podcast, but over the duration of the whole weekend as well. And I really can't wait to bump into her again, sooner or later, hopefully.
Okay, well, let's move on to the other thing that you are renowned for in the ukulele community, the ukulele world.
Yeah.
You sell ukuleles.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
with a difference. Why don't you just tell us tell us about it? Okay.
So, oh gosh. All right, where to begin? All right, so I'll start at the beginning just really quick. So I'll talk fast, guys, because it is a long story. But I had an ice cream shop that wasn't doing too well, and I felt like I needed to buy a ukulele. And again, it's the things in your life that line up, show you where you're meant to be. And then I got on Ukulele Underground and started like finding the community. And then I couldn't sleep until I bought this solid body electric ukulele on Ukulele Underground Marketplace. And I could not afford it, and I did not need it, but I felt like I needed to. And that company reached out and was like, how about you offer our ukuleles? And I'm like, sure. Well, not that many people were offering them. It was a brand called Uke. So, and then they also distributed Ohana. So I had like 6 Ohanas. And in my ice cream shop, and they're like, well, we'd love to partner with you, Uke said, and because we think ukulele and ice cream is hilarious. I'm like, okay. So then people, I wanted to just sell 2 or 3 to supplement during the month, and then I sent out a ukulele, and somebody wrote in a review, Mim was great. I got the ukulele quick. And I'm like, well, of course, because nobody's coming into my ice cream shop, and the shipping place is next door. And then they go, and then the setup was perfect. I didn't know what a setup was, and I will not lie. So that's it. Is I'm really truthful. I'm kind of black and white in that way, but I did sort of go a little gray because I never told him I didn't set it up. He's the one who said I set it up, but I never told him I did. I didn't know what it was, so I'm Googling like how to set up a ukulele. Literally, a guy walks into my shop as I'm trying to find, and there was nothing on the internet, and this guy's like, oh, I just graduated luthier school. I'd like a ukulele. And I'm like, yes. And he goes, I will barter you a ukulele for setup skills. He only taught me a little bit. Like, it really wasn't, it was okay, but there was some things missing. I didn't realize till later. And then I was getting a reputation for these Ukes, and Lanakai reached out and they're like, you want to offer our ukuleles? I'm like, sure. And then they're like, are you going to be at the NaMM show? Again, National Association of Music Merchants, not Vietnam. And they say, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I didn't think about going this year. I didn't know what it was. I just lied. I did lie.
Yeah.
All right. So that one I did lie.
I can never tell a lie. Oh, wait a second.
All right. I never tell a lie, but I do sort of act like I know what I'm talking about sometimes when I don't.
Okay.
But I was like, I don't know. I wasn't sure if I could make it this year. So then I Google, like, what is this? And then I'm like, oh, I need to go. And so it kind of went from 12 ukuleles on my wall to like 30 to 50 to 100, and then I got a direct relationship with Ohana, the first person though to really believe in me, and it means a lot. I may cry. You want me to cry?
Yes, please.
It's good. It's good press. Is I was at the NaMM show, and Kamakai didn't have a brick and mortar at the time that they would consider brick and mortar, so it was fair. Like, they rejected me fair. Koaloa wasn't there that year, and then there was another brand that sort of broke my heart that year, that I had bought my shop in order to just offer their brand, and I showed up, and then they started adding stipulations onto me, and I'm like, well, oh, you probably know who, yeah, and I was like, I won't say. But don't speculate, guys. Anyway, but it was heartbreaking though, the way it was done, because basically I had put a lot of money on the line just to offer them. And then somebody goes, well, Rick Turner's upstairs. And if you don't know who he is, he's a world-renowned guitar maker. If you go to his booth, it is a pageant of people checking in with them, and it's history. So people are like, oh, you know him? He's the bassist for Carole King. Do you know this guy? Oh yeah, he's it. So you can sit there and like, these legends that you don't realize are legends, does that make sense? Keep coming by his booth. But I go up to his booth and I find him in Hall D, and he's got these ukuleles. Like, Mem, why have you not been here earlier? And I was like, I didn't know you were here. I think I may have even passed by you. I didn't realize you were here. And he goes, I know what you do, and I believe in you. I want you to offer my ukuleles. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, really? And there's actually a little funny story too, where I didn't have that much money at the time, so I bought only one, because they are quite expensive, and I was just going to carry it home, but I thought the other one was spoken for. And then music guy Mike, rest his soul, he was amazing. I said something later, I saw him for the first time, and I said, oh, like, Rick Turner's up there. And he goes, oh, does he have any ukuleles? And I'm like, oh, I already spoke for one, and I think the other one's spoken for. And I come up, and this was my first power move. It was actually kind of funny. So he goes up, this is when he was working for Andrew. But if anybody doesn't know out there in podcast world, music guy Mike set the standard for ukulele dealers when it came to setup and customer service. And he was just famous for it. But then he went to work for Andrew at Hawaii Music Supply for a while. So we go trucking up to Rick Turner's booth, and I was going to get my, ukulele to carry out. And then they're looking at him, and I'm talking to Rick, and I'm like, wait, that one's not spoken for? He's like, oh no, that's totally up for grabs. And I see them both turn around to say they want it, and I said, I'll take it. and you saw them both go, like, mouth open for the podcast people. Like it was just funny. It was my first power move ever, and it was very impulsive because I really didn't have the money, but I did it. But there's this great picture of me and music guy Mike. We staged a photo where we look like we're fighting over it. And that was the last, he passed away, I think, later that year. So it's kind of a sweet story, too. And Rick Turner has passed away. So just really legends. I've really been very blessed to have not only legends believe in me, but to cross paths with just some amazing, legendary people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, NaMM is a bit like that, though, isn't it? Like, you just never know who you're going to meet and what they've done. I mean, I was speaking to some guy in the line for, like, tacos at lunchtime. And he said, oh, yeah, I'm a producer. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. Everyone in LA is a producer or a whatever. Yeah. And then I got out of the line. I Googled him. I was like, oh, he's actually done, like, sort of REM and Wheatus or something. I know, some, like, big bands. I was like, oh, I wish I hadn't, like, big-timed him or whatever, But,
I've done worse.
Yeah, have you? Okay.
Okay. Oh, it's worse. It's so bad. You guys, it was awful. Oh, I'm going to have you guys fill in at one point, because you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm getting out. You can tell he's going to NaMM because they're wearing all black when you leave the airport. And I'm waiting for my ride. And there's a guy standing next to me wearing all black with a guitar on his back. And I'm talking to him and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm this eager, talkative Southern gal. And I'm like, and I'm the first to be like, what are you here for? I'm here for ukuleles. This is so great, you know? And I'm like, so what are you here for? And he's like, well, I'm an artist and they have me in for this one booth. I'm like, great. Are you in a band? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, which one? And he's like, the Blue Oyster Cult. Now this may not translate for UK fans. What did I say, guys? What is it? Cowbell. More cowbell. I said, oh, more cowbell, huh? I couldn't. And, you know, it's like as it comes out, even though it's not in slow motion, it's a bit like that, like in a movie. More cowbell. And I'm like horrified. And right then, I mean, even the timing was just chef's kiss. Like his ride shows up and I'm like, I just said more cowbell. Oh, God. I died. I was 10 feet from Ed Sheeran. I was 10 feet. Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. That was my daughter's reaction. She's like, why didn't you get a picture with him? I'm like, because he was meeting with a friend. I could tell. He passes by, and everybody's like, ooh, Ed Sheeran passed by. And I'm like, and so I've got this picture of him from a distance, and you can see him kind of looking over at me like this woman. I mean, I ran after him, too. I am immature. You want to know my other horrific experience from NaMM?
Go for it, yeah.
Oh, it's good. So basically, I'm Southern, and I'll just say whatever. And it's so bad. So I'm at NaMM, and I've gotten to where I wear overalls all the time. Honestly, they've got deep pockets. They're just so functional. And so I'm wearing my overalls, and they're the good kind, is what my dad called them. Now, they're the old kind. They don't make them this way, and they unbutton in the back. You want to know why? Anybody can guess? It's so when you use the bathroom, your, what do you call these, braces?
Dungarees.
Dungaree braces. But these are, so overalls, guys, I'm talking about dungarees. It's so they rest on your neck so you can use the bathroom so it doesn't get in your stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what my dad called them because it has a bad word. And overalls like that, he would buy up a bunch of, because he says they're the good kind. So these are actually my dad's overalls that I'm wearing. And so I see this guy pass by in overalls and I'm like, you! And he's like, and he looks and I'm like, I haven't seen anybody else in overalls. I need a picture with you. And then I'm like, I love your overalls. Like, they were really cool. They had like the railroad stripes. And I'm like, and he goes, well, they are kind of expensive. I'm like, but they aren't as good as mine. You don't have the buttons on the back. I'm like, but don't, I said, he goes, you like those, huh? And I'm like, yeah, you want to know why? Because they're functional. Look, I'm going to show you. Don't worry, I've got leggings on underneath. And I pop off the buttons on the back, and I have it hanging on my neck, and I squat down. I had leggings on, I promise.
Okay.
And then he leaves. And someone's like, you do know who that is, don't you? And I'm like, no. And they're like, Willie Watson, the founding member of Old Crow Medicine Show. And I'm like, of course. Of course it was. And then, and you should see the picture because you can see it in his face. Like, this woman. And then I go and look up his overalls and he hand sews them himself and they're like $850.
We'll get back to MCing in a moment, but I just want to explain something just before we go into the second half of the show. As you may or may not know, there was some controversy about a year or two ago in the online world where a certain uke store owner went on a rant online about setups and why he felt that it was important to charge for them, despite lots of other uke dealers coming out, including MCing, saying that they believed that the setup should be included in the cost when you buy a new ukulele. Now, perhaps, looking back to some of you, it might seem like a bit of a storm in a teacup, but I know it affected MCing pretty deeply, so I really wanted to offer her the chance to address it, as I don't think she's ever actually spoken publicly about the whole thing since it happened. Anyway, because we didn't want to name any names, we sort of skirt around the issue a little bit. So if you're not aware of what we're referring to, then the next section might not make a huge amount of sense to all of you. But if you Google something like ukulele setup controversy or ukulele setup debacle and read a couple of articles from Reddit or the ukulele forums, then you should get a pretty clear idea of what we're talking about. So if you've ever wanted to hear what Mim really thought about that whole situation and how it affected her personally, then keep listening. Okay, I'll be back in about 2 weeks' time with an interview with the brilliant Katie Deneur from onemusic.com. So be sure to check in with me for that. In the meantime, please keep spreading the word about Ukulele Tales. And for now, the one and only Mim.
A lot of my setup skills is what I call school of hard knocks. So if there's a problem, I have to fix it, and I got to figure out how to fix it. But now things that would take me forever to troubleshoot because I'm not used to it, I've pretty much encountered every problem a ukulele can have.
Yeah.
So.
Well, can I just ask
Yeah.
then, so setup, like I sort of roughly know what you mean, but I presume there's a whole process.
There is, and according to some, there are levels of setup, but there's not.
I know what you're talking about.
You
I
know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, let's roll up the sleeves. If I offered 3 levels of setup, that would mean I am sending you a ukulele that I know has a problem with it, but I am too lazy and sorry to fix it for you. Bam! That's what it is. So a setup, ideally, at the end of the day, will make your uke as playable as possible and very comfortable as possible. So you want your action to be just like sweet and ideal. But a lot of that starts in making sure the bones of the ukulele is good. And my big thing is, to me, the bones are the frets in your fretboard. Because if that's bad, you can do all you want in the setup and you'll actually create more problems. So always, first thing I do is check the frets. Then I always check for sharp fret ends, which just sort of naturally happen. And then you adjust the nut, adjust the saddle. The nut is always usually a little bit high. And that's when people go, I can't make a bar chord. Or it really hurts. Or one lady came to me once and her fingers were peeling because girlfriend was practicing, but her teacher was telling her it's her fault. You aren't pressing hard enough. Your fingers aren't strong enough. And instead, she was literally doing herself physical harm. 5 minutes of nut work on her ukulele, and suddenly she can make these bar chords that her teachers said it was because she was older or because she had arthritis. It had everything to do with her uke. And then making sure the saddle's low. And then after that, I'll be honest, I could go over it. There's a ton of different things that can cause a uke to not play properly, but then you're getting into the least common things. But everything from metallic things like buttons or even screws, or even, I had a Kamaka once that sounded awful, but it was just the end of the tuner. The screw wasn't all the way in, and I just had to screw that. But it's listening for problems and fixing them so that they go out to my customer in the most ideal, playable.
The best uke it can be. Yeah.
I played a $1,500 ukulele that wasn't set up, that to me felt and sounded worse than like what I've got in front of me is like a $180 all solid mahogany Ohana, because what you need is because it wasn't set up. And so setup can make a ukulele just sound, play, and feel a lot better, and also a lot more high end. So you don't have to spend a ton of money to get a very playable ukulele. A lot of times, like, I don't want to say lower end, but more affordable ukuleles get a bad rap, but it's because they aren't set up.
Yeah.
Properly set up ukulele in the $150 to $300 range, if that's all you've got the budget for, that's fine.
It can still sound good.
It can still sound and play good.
Yeah.
String upgrades help, setup helps, things like that. So some people say buy the most expensive ukulele like you can afford if you want to be a successful player. But the problem is not everybody has $1,500 for a koaloa. But what I say is just make sure whatever you can afford is well set up. A better ukulele will not make you play better.
No, it won't.
Yes.
I had that when I was a kid at school, because we had like super no money when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
My parents scrimped and saved and got me like the cheapest electric guitar they could.
Oh.
And I loved it. And I played it like sort of, all the time from the second I got home from school to the second I went to bed or whatever. And then I went to like a nice school, and there were kids who would just be given like £1,000 guitars, huge amps, racks of pedals, and they couldn't play like an E minor chord, And I'd be like, oh, I hate these kids,
Yep.
But but we're interviewing Mim, not John, so that's
no.
okay.
No, it's all relatable. I mean,
Well,
our first
yeah.
Uke Jam that I hosted, a guy showed up with a Mahalo. dude could play though, man. Like that guy was like just going crazy on it. And what was funny is before he showed up, me and this other guy were like, oh, we only had like $200 ukuleles, but we were kind of being a little smug about them.
Well, can I ask you, so just going back to the setups, without wanting to, without wanting to poke the bear a bit, with wanting to poke the bear a little bit. Yeah, let's poke the bear a little bit. Sounds like you do a lot of work on these ukuleles.
Yes.
Why do you think people shouldn't pay for that work?
Because there is a profit margin in there. So I'm making money off your ukulele when you buy it from me. So you should get the best customer service possible. Like, and so the thing is, like, who's going to sell somebody a faulty instrument just because somebody's unwilling to pay an astronomical amount of money more in order to purchase that ukulele? You give me a $1,500 I rewatched the video the other day. And so that's why I'm a little hot. I shouldn't have rewatched it. So famously, guys, there was a video that came out that was very much pointed towards me and other dealers offering a free setup, essentially calling us liars and saying you get what you pay for.
Wait, wasn't it deleted or is it still around?
It was deleted, but my son
is
tech savvy.
Why would you want to save something that is going to upset you? Is another question.
I normally wouldn't watch it, but it was to see if I remember things correctly. And I was like, oh, I did. Right, so it's like Taylor Swift and Kim Kardashian. She edited the video down and said it wasn't that bad. If this video ever resurfaces edited down and then the person says it isn't that bad, I'll have the original. See, Taylor Swift didn't have the original. Then when somebody else let the original out, it turned out Taylor Swift was right. Am I Swiftie? Yes. Let's go. So my thing is, it was good to keep receipts. I guess I'm putting my receipts out here now. But anyway, but don't come after me again, because if you do, everybody knows I try to treat people with love and kindness, and I feel like I didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
None of us did. Okay, so let's go back to the actual point, though. There is money already built in that I make by selling you the ukulele. You should just by default get a half an hour to an hour of my time, sometimes more, sometimes less, to make sure your ukulele is ideally in the best condition possible. I'm here to make players.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make frustrated people. So I don't want to sell you a faulty ukulele that plays like crap. I just don't.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine. Somebody once told me saying, I like to do my own setup. Don't set up my ukulele. And I'm like, I can't. I mean, I told him, I was like, then you need to not order from me because I have to touch it. Because I have to make sure your frets are level. I have to make sure your nut is ideal. If you want, I won't bring the nut as low as I normally do. I'll leave that up to you, and things like that. I'm like, but I said, in the least, I'm at least leveling your frets. And they were good with that. And so that's it. Is I just, my dad always said to give people a little extra. This person made the video, and in the video they said, my dad said, you get what you pay for. And I famously said that other quote in Ukulele magazine. So was it pointed at me? I don't know. Did it feel like it was? Yes. So that's the thing is like, I don't know.
Well, let me
I
just
was quiet about it for 2 years, but it's not time. At this point, I'm just tired of people treating me bad for no reason.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, what I want to say to you, Mim, if it's okay, is like, I mean, just one of the words that springs to my mind when I hear about you, and when people know that I'm talking to you, they're like, "Oh, she's trusted. People trust you to buy, to buy from you. So they know you're going to do a good job. They know you're going to do the best for their ukulele, the best you can, and your reputation precedes you. So you can't ask for more than that. I think
that's it, and that's the whole thing. It's just such a weird time because I was going through some things in my personal life with some health issues with my family, and it just wasn't the time to come after me. So it is really, but yeah. So to be more positive about it, so you can cut out the negative if you want, or you can leave it in there because I'm at the point now where I'm tired of always being the nice girl that never says anything when I'm being mistreated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
And I am that. I am that person. And then I kind of step back and I'm like, I need to stand up for myself more because I really don't. But that's actually what I value is for people to trust me. And am I perfect? No. Like, do I sometimes not answer my emails as good as I should? No, because they breed. I'm sorry. I've written somebody a response to an email, and then I'll get 2 back, and then I'm like, oh no. So I know where I fall short, but my goal is to never fall short on setup and honesty and integrity and doing right by my customers. So if something's wrong, I'll make it right. If it's my fault that something was faulty, or if I missed something, I'll pay the return shipping, because that's the fair way to do business. Yeah. So that's it. I just want to do the fair way of doing business, and I think that's why people order from me is even if I sometimes fall short, my intentions are always good, and I always want to do the best that I possibly can. But wood is wood, strings are strings, and sometimes things shift in shipping or I miss something. But most of the time, my return rate's pretty low. I think that's good. That's a good way to be. But when I die, I want to continue to be the trusted ukulele dealer, not the one that sold the most ukuleles. Goodness knows, I just need to support my family. That's all my goal. I mean, and you'll even see it. I'll shut down my shop if I need time for my family. There's something going on with my family right now, so I'll probably have to shut down my shop a little bit, just take some kids to the doctor. Fun. Our daughter getting married and things like that. So, but yeah, just a good, honest business. And I make friends with my customers, and that's important to me,
And that's it. We're going to leave it there. That's perfect. Okay, amazing. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you guys for coming. And yeah, let's do it.